A quiet dispute often begins long before anyone realizes something has shifted. And that's exactly what happened the day a simple letter, a letter most people wouldn't look at twice, became the spark that dragged the Mkhwanazi name into a web spun patiently by Mogotsi. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was precise. And once it landed in the public space, there was no going back. That's how influence works, quietly at first, then suddenly all at once. What many don't see is that this entire situation didn't start with a confrontation. It started with an opening. Mogotsi didn't attack. He presented something that looked like a harmless position, a small clarification here, a subtle correction there. But behind the politeness was the true objective, shaping the narrative before anyone else had the chance to speak. And once he framed the issue, Mkhwanazi was already on the back foot, responding rather than leading. That's when you know someone has stepped into another man's frame without realizing it. The problem wasn't that Mkhwanazi answered the letter. The problem was the timing. Respond too late and you look defensive. Respond too quickly and you look uncertain. Respond emotionally and you lose the strategic advantage. Unfortunately for him, he responded exactly when Mogotsi needed him to. Not because of pressure, but because the public had begun forming opinions. And when the public starts whispering, silence becomes guilt, even when there is no wrongdoing at all. Generational memories made the moment heavier. Old clan tensions, past misunderstandings, unresolved loyalties, all of it resurfaced the second the letter circulated. A new conflict suddenly felt like a continuation of very old history, and once the past becomes the lens, even simple issues become battles for identity and dignity. That weight can crush even the calmest voice. It changes how every word is read. It sets a trap without setting a single foot wrong. Suddenly, the entire situation became a quiet fight between influence and authority. Authority says, "I have the right to respond." Influence whispers, "But I've already shaped what people think before your response arrives." And Mogotsi, whether by design or instinct, wielded influence far more effectively than Mkhwanazi wielded authority. That's why the letter landed harder than expected. That's why the reply felt like an uphill climb. Influence wins long before authority even shows up. As people watched the exchange unfold, the pressure grew thicker. Social judgment is a powerful force, and the Mkhwanazi side began to feel boxed in. Even those who normally stay neutral had an opinion this time. Public commentary can make a misunderstanding feel like a crisis. Once the noise builds, even wise people can react emotionally. And that's when strategy slips. Emotion is human, but strategy is survival. Within the clan itself, the ripples were unavoidable. Some believed the reply was necessary. Others felt it played straight into Mogotsi's hands. Every discussion carried a hint of frustration, a bit of confusion, and a quiet fear that the issue might escalate beyond words. Internal divisions are the true danger in moments like this. They weaken the foundation long before outside pressure does. But Mogotsi's actual objective was simpler than many think. He wanted to frame the narrative so tightly that any response from Mkhwanazi would reinforce the very message he was pushing. The trap wasn't physical, it was intellectual. Once the public saw Mogotsi as the clarifier and Mkhwanazi as the reactor, the roles were locked. Perception became reality, and reality became a chain. The tightening happened the moment the issue reached the wider community. Suddenly there was commentary, interpretation, analysis, people adding their own spice to the situation. The more people talked, the less control the original parties had. Narrative framing is powerful. In leadership spaces, it often matters more than facts. A single well-timed statement can outweigh 100 explanations. And unfortunately, Mkhwanazi learned that the hard way. Experts often warn leaders about this. A battle of words is rarely about the words. It's about who speaks first, who speaks last, and who sounds like they don't need to speak at all. Silence can be strength, but silence can also be surrender. The balance is delicate. Many leaders misjudge it, and the consequences can ripple for years. Cultural symbolism added another layer. In clan matters, a letter isn't just ink. It represents standing, lineage, respect, and continuity. So when tensions rise around a letter, it's not about paper. It's about everything it symbolizes. That's why people reacted strongly. That's why the issue grew beyond the two men involved. The public, intentionally or not, became the jury. Conversations online, at gatherings. Among elders, everyone contributed. Collective judgment is dangerous because it's rarely informed, but it's powerful because it's loud. Once a story belongs to the crowd, it stops belonging to the people who started it. There was a moment when the entire situation could have been reversed. A simple shift in tone, timing, or framing could have turned the pressure back on Mogotsi. A strategic silence, a calmly phrased clarification, or even a private engagement before a public one. But moments like that vanish quickly. Once missed, they rarely come back. The cost of missteps in these situations isn't immediate, it comes slowly. Reputations shift. Influence changes hands. People remember who controlled the narrative and who chased it. That's the real trap. Not disgrace, but disadvantage. So what comes next? The clan will need clarity, unity, and a long-term strategy that restores balance and dignity. These moments don't end when the letters stop. They end when the community feels whole again. And that is the real challenge. Not professional advice. Consult a qualified expert.